Hello. Wait.
Hello. All right, gang. We're going to hop right into this because we got a lot to talk about. But let us know what you think in the chat, and also be reading from the Discord. 3, 2, 1. Hello, and welcome to Only Stupid Answers. My name is Sam Basher.
And I'm DJ Wooldridge.
Today we're talking about Watchmen, episode 107. This is the home stretch. Only 2 episodes left, and boy, howdy. A lot of stuff's answered, but we got a lot of questions, so we're going to dive into it. This episode's titled An Almost Religious Awe. Under Lady True's care, Angela undergoes an unconventional treatment. Laurie chases down a lead. The smartest man in the world delivers a stunning defense of his past actions. So yeah, we're going to try to go chronologically through this to answer our own questions.
An almost religious
deep.
Aw.
Aww. Yeah, is that the name for the fart?
Aw, it's the pigs.
Aww. They are cute.
Yeah.
How do you learn to talk to them? Oh, wait, it didn't matter if you talked to him.
Yeah.
Getting ahead of ourselves. So the episode kicks off with
Would have been better
Angela's.
if it was like a kangaroo's. Like it's a kangaroo court.
I mean, but he's not a. That could work, but also it's of your peers.
Think about the bits.
But it's being.
Oh, yeah.
Of it by his peers.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyways, so it starts out. The episode begins with Angela as a child
Yes.
in Vietnam, and there's big documentaries coming out for the life of Dr.
10
Manhattan.
hours. Yeah, 10 hours for the life of Dr. Manhattan.
I mean, it still kind of looks like the helper man that's on Ozymandias' little moon, but we'll get back to that in a little bit.
And it's on VVN Day, so we're assuming victory at Vietnam. Because in this reality, because of Dr. Manhattan, which we see a little bit of him in classic Vietnam footage,
Nipples down.
Yeah, United States won, and now it's a state. As we've established earlier in the show, it is a state.
Which I would like to hear from the chat. This is a question I'll put out there, and you don't have to call me too many names while I do this. My understanding of how states become states is that usually you have to do them in twos. That's why Alaska and Hawaii became states pretty close together, and before that, but when the country was being started, that wasn't a rule, but then it became a rule once we started adding more and more states.
You gotta make sure the flag looks good.
But also when there's like a symmetry when it comes to power in Congress and states' rights and stuff like that. That's what I believe. It also doesn't matter because the flag actually looks pretty cool with the big circle in the middle.
Then they do 2 to be 52, tie back to DC Universe.
See, they didn't want to do that just yet. Who are they? What's going to be the new one? Puerto Rico? Maybe.
Yeah.
Not even in fictional world.
Actually, you know what? What if there is a 52nd state in this universe, and we just don't talk? And maybe Puerto Rico is also a state, but
we count. They counted the star. I counted the stars. There's only 51. Yeah. Anyways, and also fun fact.
Well, they bungled it. Let's throw this whole show in the trash.
Yeah, it doesn't. Nothing makes sense anymore. But yeah, we see the inspiration for Sister Nights by the only super person that she sees that looks like her in media, and it's Sister Night.
Blaxploitation film, a fictional, as far as we know, a fictional blaxploitation film set within this universe. And her parents won't let her watch it because it's too violent. Little do they know, boy, howdy, is this little girl going to get an education on violence real soon?
Yeah, as soon as you see the guy with the scar on his face, it's like, yeah,
he looks like a Bond villain. Yeah.
He's about, which is like, is it bad that I think that? But it's like, no, you did it. Yeah. you did it. You confirmed my bias. Now we're both the bad guys. But he ends up blowing his mom and daddy straight to smithereens.
Yeah, because
shout out to Darla from Shazam, the young foster sister to Billy, plays young Angela.
Yeah, and when the Vietnamese bomber, he says death to the invaders. So people in Vietnam are not necessarily stoked that the U.S. is there. This was one of the first things that really stuck out to me in the episode because they intercut the Vietnamese bomber with her memories are still intermingling with Will's memories, which I thought was used incredibly effectively throughout this episode. They intercut the Vietnamese bomber with one of the Ku Klux Klan members that attacked Will's family in the Tulsa massacre. And it's interesting imagery because it, on the one hand, the clear-cut reading, and probably what they were most directly going for is the idea that both are terrorists, which is true. The more complicated one, though, is that the Vietnamese person, his people were there. They were there first. And not to justify anything he does, but it's just an interesting dichotomy. And I do appreciate this show's willingness to allow complex depictions and imagery and it's telling, which is true to Watchmen. It's going all the way back to the first episode. I think the first scene of the first episode with a black cop in a mask with a white guy being pulled over, and that whole exchange is very complicated, especially if you look at the real world implications, and you get some of that here as well.
Yeah, and then we get into Lady True once again explaining what the enormous tube is that's going inside of Angela.
Yeah.
Of reveals of the year.
Yeah.
I think for TV at least. That is quite shocking when we learn what that all is. I have some theories.
Yeah, let's not dive into that just yet, because before that we get she's able to inject like a tutorial on what's happening to her, which was hilarious.
Yeah, they basically memo dialysis, which is gobbledygook, but basically it's the filtering out of bad memories, similar to what you do with your kidneys. When they start to fail on you. So yeah, they...
this is a very funny episode.
Yeah.
Especially moments like that.
There was a little tongue-in-cheek and very similar... There were similarities to like drug commercials in our world, and apparently memories, if you ingest them too quick, tend to gum up the whole nervous system up there. So you got to get in there with a... What was it? They described it as a... main host. They gave it. I apologize, but it's
like with the exact wording I don't remember, but it was something like basically not like a pure host, but something like the implication was the host of the original memories, or some sort of association with those memories,
or I guess someone who could donate clear memories, or was a receptacle for memories.
Props to, according to IMDb, the credited writers, of course, Damon Lindelof has co-written every episode this season, but Stacey Osei Kafour, hopefully I pronounced that correctly, she's also a credited writer on this episode.
Oh, and she did an amazing job.
Yeah, and this is probably one of the funniest episodes of the show so far.
Yeah.
And I also appreciate that while the show is very reverent to Watchmen, it is willing to be its own thing and allow stuff like our favorite Silver, which is the greatest mystery we need to figure out, is the Silver Runner.
Yeah,
slippery boy,
Slippery Steve.
That's the only mystery I need solved.
It has to be Petey. It has to be Petey, which we'll get to Petey in a second. He found a not so fun surprise.
I kind of just in that looking glass wasn't there, so I was happy with that.
Yeah, I was happy with that too, but you could be wounded. Anyways, we get back to Angela as we kind of end her first chapter, spiraling through her memories. But Jean Smart's, we find out that while Angela was under and going through this magical mystery tour, more of a nightmare, she was spouting out all of her memories.
Yeah.
And Jean Smart, I'm going to just name the actress. Yeah. Lori was smart enough to record everything that she was saying. And now... basically, a whole precinct knows that Hooded Justice was a black man, and they inspired two generations. Inspired herself to become a superhero. Is the grandfather of this woman that she's detaining right now, who's ODing. So maybe keep her alive to answer some questions. Also, she learns about Cyclops. She learns about what they were using, and also that Will 100% killed Judd. Yeah. Through magic flashlight.
And so she goes to confront, or not confront. It's not meant to be a confront. No, she's meant to inform the wife of Judd.
Maybe try to get more info, possibly from her.
Early hint that maybe things aren't going to go the way we think is on her riding helmet. Appears to be a symbol similar to the Cyclops symbol.
It might just be like a wink and a nod. But,
also, it's interesting that a lot of the symbolism of the third eye, the eye in the middle of the forehead, because Ozymandias has his eye, Dr. Manhattan has his atom symbol, the Cyclops eye. A lot of reusing of that symbolism, which is interesting.
Danny M, by the way, who watched with us live at patreon.com/onlystupidanswers Sundays, threw out that a little nugget, and that was pretty cool. Also, it might be interesting, kind of similar to Avatar: The Last Airbender, where the chakras are something important for unlocking the different bending. Yeah. There might be something to where the placement is, because his eye's on his belly. Yeah. So maybe there might be something to kind of like dive into when it comes to that eye, and like there might be something more to that, because this show has a lot of other layers to it. But
Helsing eye, Manhattan's everywhere. I don't know. But this leads to another one of the funniest moments in this show this season, maybe the year, is when Judd's wife launches her epic trap.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Garage door opener for a trap door. That didn't work because, of course, you probably installed that, ballpark 10 years ago
At least.
and there's no reason for you to use it before.
In that house, I assume it seems like a family estate type of situation.
Maybe there's someone you call to install that.
Yeah, but I like that because it's like when we watch Bond movies and stuff, another Bond reference because you got the villain with the scar, you got the trap door. When Bond villains, every time they hit the button, the trap works perfectly. Or like when Indiana Jones is going through a temple, like all the traps still work. Bullshit.
Yeah.
Like come on, like I can barely get my
years.
garage door to work when I need it to. You know what I mean? The stupid thumbprint thing on my phone works only half the time. You know?
Yeah.
So I that was the only thing that didn't track with that is Lori still not tackling her or something.
Well, I would be confused too because are you trying to mind control me?
Yeah,
what are you trying to do? And then
happening?
after it falls once,
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd stand up quick enough to get away.
But it's really funny, great reveal. Also great to see these two actresses kind of try to out-sass each other.
Mm-hmm. And the reveal of her being like, she does sell that she doesn't know what Lori's talking about. And then she, at a point, there's nothing else that she can't fake it anymore because Lori clearly knows too much. To that point, it's worth diving into this. What she extrapolates from Will's memories and what she knows so far, and also she kind of hates Keen, so that's pretty clear, is that Keen and Judd had ties to the 7th Cavalry. At least Will believed that Judd did enough to kill him, and that there has to be something to Keen being a part of the 7th Cavalry, a group that wears masks, and also being basically the spearhead for the Keen Act that made cops being able to wear masks and work without disclosing their identities. So there has to be something to it, which this episode doesn't dive into because then we get into James Bond.
Yeah, I think I do hope they kind of maybe flesh out why masks would help Keen get elected, because the implication is you got cops to wear a mask, which is going to help him be president. It's like, what? How does that? Are superheroes still really popular in the public consciousness? So bringing them back in a way makes you look more appealing. Is it kind of because he's related to the guy who did the Keen Act that got rid of superheroes? So maybe he's trying to clean up his image because people still you know what I mean? How that train of logic works would be nice to know.
So here's just a theory I'll throw out there and we'll just skip forward just a tiny bit to when Keen and Lori are talking because some of the best acting of the episode from Jean Smart, amazing acting from everyone in this show, but just her exhaustion and just I haven't had to do this superhero bullshit for a couple decades now. I'm really not up for doing it now. So, and I like that Keen is a genuine threat, that they're looking to make another Dr. Manhattan. And it roots in we're not racist. We just want white people to have more power than other races for no other reason.
It's so hard to be a white man right now.
So why not be a blue one? So I'd say that the analogy for Dr. Manhattan is the nuclear arsenal that the U.S. had and the escalating nuclear tension that we had from the 40s to the 80s, and let's pretend it ended there. But more recently, since this show is supposed to be echoing our own timeline, in some senses, that there's been a big push from people in our country to restart our nuclear arsenal and just keep making nuclear weapons to show that we have the power, that we are number one still. That's how we're going to show people that possibly that, and you can see that analogy if Keen wants to become a Dr. Manhattan and become not just president, but the Mr. Dr. Manhattan president or whatever, that possibly returning to a form that feels comfortable for white America could also be something attached to the resurgence of costumed villains and heroes.
Yeah, and it'd be interesting too, because that idea of that feeling people just don't think we're as strong as we were then. And we need to remind people how fucking great we are and how strong we are and all that stuff. And that kind of insecurity.
Yeah, but American Hero Story we're seeing is being celebrated as an amazing documentary. There is a love for that costume adventure life, so possibly preying on those nostalgic views of the past.
Nostalgia.
And it could be his place setting to creating a country that's similar to the ultra right, we'll call it right wing because now it's left wing. The country is, so he's we need to do some course correcting here. And
I think weird enough. This actually goes back to Alan Moore's quote about superhero stuff being people unable to let go of their reassuring youth, because no matter where you are, your youth always seems really reassuring because it is in the past. It is static. You know what happened. You know what I mean? Whereas the future is always kind of scary because it is unsure. You know what I mean? And the relatively reassuring 20th century, which
especially for white Americans.
Yeah, was Alan Moore's wording, which at first might seem weird because 2 world wars happened in that. There was a lot of upheaval. But again, it's the past. We won those wars. You know what I mean? There's this sense of like, oh, this imaginary good old days. And this imaginary going back to like, yeah, wasn't it great when we had a Dr. Manhattan? But we know from the people that dealt with that, no, it was not great. Dr. Manhattan 1 was just a pain in the ass on his own, just independently of all the questions he raised.
Yeah, and also, as an analogy, so did every costume adventurer, because it wasn't Dr. Manhattan who did the squid. Yeah. It was them. Yeah, they did that. They're responsible for that. And so, like, the good old days, if that analogy tracks, that bringing back a nuclear arsenal doesn't actually help anything, because if you look at Chernobyl, if you look at what happened in Japan, like if you look at was it 3 Mile Island?
Yeah.
There's a lot of examples of like doing that again is not a good thing.
Yeah.
What was that bomb that like Russia almost set off that could have ignited the atmosphere? Like, no, this isn't good. This isn't good. None of it's good.
Bomb,
yeah, Jesus Christ. So that's the analogy I'm getting, and I think there just needs to be a few more winks and nods to kind of explain it. And also, while watching this, since we're getting into the tail end of this show, similar to the Watchmen comic and Doomsday Clock, which is kind of like a mirror image to it, the second to last issue is where you get all the answers, and then we get a conclusion to those answers.
Yeah, I will say, and this dives more into our kind of end game, I am a little bit concerned. I thought the first, what would have been the past 2 episodes? So this is 7? This is 7. So the first 5 episodes are so confidently and deliberately paced. And the past 2 have been very heavy. And the implication is the next episode is also going to be very heavy in reveals. Mm-hmm. And I think it's slowing the momentum of the show. And it makes me slightly concerned for where the show is going, especially with how some of those reveals are playing out, specifically in this episode, which we'll get to in a minute. That said, I have started listening to the podcast, which we both recommend.
Damon Lindelof and Craig Mazin.
Yeah, and it's released every 3 episodes. And Damon Lindelof said he's like, part of the appeal of Watchmen is that you were always kind of scared that it was going to jump the shark. Mm-hmm. And it's like, and that's we wanted to have people have that feeling that it's not safe. And boy, you don't have to worry about that. You know what I mean? You're definitely going for that. It definitely doesn't feel safe, which on that level, I appreciate. I listen to that podcast. I really appreciate, however the show ends up, I appreciate the thought and the intent that went into it.
Because you can see, like, from top to tail, you can see the level of creativity, but also dedication to the source material and adapting it to something modern day that is pertinent and important. That being said, it sounded like you didn't like the last episode. Not this episode.
Oh no, I do. No, I did. I really did like that episode. It's just I'm worried that because we've set up so many mysteries that the for me reveals in and of themselves are not terribly exciting. And so the fact that it's like reveal on top of reveal on top of reveal is not necessarily my favorite narrative mechanic. And it feels like we're kind of getting lost in the weeds on that. Maybe. It depends on...
It is answering questions, but it also is raising huge ones as it goes along.
So when it comes to... And speaking of like things piling up, although I do think maybe there's a reveal here that will be interesting. Going back to Angela, we go back to her memories, and she's... First off, the... Vietnamese cops find the person responsible for the bomb, the one that did not blow up.
Yeah.
He was taken care of.
And she wanted to listen.
Yeah. And well, yeah. So the guy that didn't blow up, they're basically like, is this guy? And she's like, very distinctive scar. Yeah, that's the dude. And yeah, like you said, she wanted to listen. And this is the moment she decided she wanted to be a cop.
Yeah. Complicated, to say the least, complicated feelings during that. But, and to kind of cap off her trip down memory lane, she meets her grandmother, which was teased in the last trailer, which I totally blew out of my brain that they had casted that
props
woman.
To the casting department that the actress that plays the young version of the grandma and then the grandma version of the grandma are very, like there's a continuity there that I think is very, very cool.
And
they felt like the same person.
And they kind of hammer home that, like, the trauma that she went through too basically didn't make her the best mom either.
Yeah.
Or something else happened with the son.
Because the way she tells the story is that basically her son wanted to go off and join the military, specifically to fight in Vietnam, and she said if he did that, she would never talk to him again. And she even says, like, he's stubborn, but he doesn't know where he got his stubborn from. So his whole lineage is a very stubborn group of people. And yeah, so there's some complications there, and she lightly brushes off the fact that she had a small heart attack.
Itty bitty.
And she's open to having her daughter watch Sister Night. And at this point, I hope Angela watched that movie.
I'm guessing she must have, or she's just like never watched it.
But she looked really cool.
I just can't find a VCR.
And there's also a lovely moment where she talks about she wanted to see that movie because it's somebody that looked like her, which it directly speaks to representation in specifically superhero media, but all genre media, which is it was part of the main appeal of blaxploitation too, because that was with Shaft and Dolomite and stuff like that. It was an opportunity to see you be the hero and not be like that dollar bill poster. You're the guy getting punched.
By the way, since a lot more people are watching these reviews, just here's a little PSA. Go watch Dolomite Is My Name on Netflix. It's a wonderful movie, one of the best movies of the year.
You can go see our review of it.
Yeah, go watch our review. That would be helpful too.
Yeah. So anyway, she and as they're leaving in what is almost like a comical, like if it weren't so sad, it'd be almost funny, like that all these awful things happen to Angela. Grandma has another heart attack and dies on the way to the airport.
And the imagery behind Angela can't be accidental. That you're seeing a portrait, a mural of Dr. Manhattan with devil horns now, and it says murderer.
There's graffiti over it that says murderer. And I'm kind of, because we had the question as it was happening, it's like, wait, we know she meets Cal in Saigon. So how did she go to Tulsa and then come back? And I think maybe because of how Dr. Manhattan perceives time, as it's described in the comic, that she needed to stay in Saigon, and so he made sure she did stay in Saigon.
Interesting.
Which again, how responsible is he for that? Because as he points out in the comic, it's like he's kind of a slave of time. He just sees the strings, which we get a cool imagery of with the puppet of Dr. Manhattan, which is another great little Easter egg within the show. So it's like, well, did he murder her, or did he just knew he did kill her, so he killed her?
So I will say, entitled to that theory, I don't think he did that because it's hard to imagine him on a rooftop and being like, and poof, heart attack.
But he wouldn't have to, because he could just make it happen.
But either way, I don't think he is directly responsible for that specifically. And I think the way he kind of has those where he pretends not to have emotions, but he still does. That's why he gets with Lori. That's why he does make decisions.
Yeah.
But he feels like he can't really do that.
Yeah.
Anyways, I think that him getting with Angela, we're getting ahead of ourselves here, is as
by the way, spoiler
coincidental
warning.
as
you should have known, but spoiler warning.
I know. I don't know why I feel like I'm cagey. I'm like I
feel the same way. I feel the same way. But just in case you're like, oh, watch these reviews, but not watch the show. Dumb. Watch the show.
Why would you do that?
Yeah.
But thanks for watching. I think it's more coincidental because I want to get to that theory about Dr. Manhattan. Anyways, that flashback with Grandmama is tied to the fact that she just ripped out her tube because
my favorite reveal in the whole episode.
She found out that the natural host, thank you Danny M in the chat, is an elephant.
I love it because we watched, like Sam said, at patreon.com/onlystupid answers. We watched these live. You see our live reactions, and we were sitting there like, okay, it's got to either be Will. My big one was, since we finally seen young Will in the flashback, I was thinking it's going to be a clone of Will because we've established cloning, or a clone of Angela.
Yeah.
And then they open it and it's like, it's not any, there's literally zero way anybody could have guessed what it was.
Yeah.
And I love it. I hope there's not an explanation. I hope it's just like, we were just supposed to imply that was the best option. And so that's what we got. Okay. And the end.
Can I throw out my theory?
Yes.
So,
or maybe in the Peteypedia we'll explain why.
Occasionally, that's probably true. Yeah. So occasionally in surgeries when you need to do like a blood transfusion, I'm going to need you to talk about something else while I figure this out. There are times where you would bring in an animal to help you process blood through a person. You'd go through a person, go through a machine, go through an animal, and back around, and just go through.
Yeah.
So possibly...
And that's how you get werewolves.
Yeah, the analogy is that while those animals... in my head, I'm going to look this up and confirm, it has to do with the liver or has to do with the heart. Yeah. So when it comes to processing blood and toxins within it. Possibly they're using the old adage that, it was the Score Bunny. I got a new Pokemon game. But possibly the old adage of elephants never forget that their brains are so big and good. It's like they're clear, they're crystal clear. You can run it through that like a tap, and it just goes ahead and clear. It's like cheesecloth. It just goes ahead and purifies it.
And even if that's not the case, the idea, because we have that adage, elephants never forget. It's so funny. I love that reveal so much. I might have mixed feelings on this episode, specifically where it might go. That reveal in and of itself is one of my favorite things ever, because it just
that's why the tube's so big.
Yeah. I hate that. I don't know about you. I don't like, 100% give blood, but it's a lot. You know what I mean? Like, if you don't like needles or tubes, it's a lot. And then hers is like insane.
No, because it's because that's got an elephant.
Yeah. So she sees the elephant, she pulls the tube. She has that last memory. She goes to True's
basement,
basically her cerebro, essentially, is what it kind of looks like. And earlier in a conversation with True pointed out that our first little hint of what's going on with Cal, there was an accident with amnesia. Amnesia is crazy rare, which of course it would be. Like, not a lot of people run around with full amnesia. And we find out when Angela's at the Globe where all those Dr. Manhattan calls are going. Nowhere.
But they're being recorded.
Yes. Oh, I mean, yeah, not to Dr. Manhattan.
Yeah, not to Dr. Manhattan.
Not to Mars.
And he's not on Mars, which I like that he's not there.
Yeah.
Oh, and also, I we'll get into the reveal, but also it's like, yeah, we don't know where he is.
Yeah.
There's no way to track. He left.
Yeah.
Left. Like, but we'll get into that. You mentioned that there was a conversation before. I just want to finish clearing all of the other storylines until we get to the end.
Yeah.
In that conversation, it's actually between memories between True and Angela, and she mentions that after hearing Bien talk about a memory that she has, a nightmare.
She does this whole like compare pictures thing. By the way, the actress that plays the young girl is so great at being like adorable, but like vaguely menacing and kind of weird.
Yeah. Oh, then you kind of like hate her a little bit, but you also realize, something's going on with her that she's experiencing pain and nightmares from something else.
She has the ultimate tiger mom.
Yeah. She and we find out that your theory, you threw this out there initially. So DJ talks trash. You can go ahead and claim he's getting put.
I got one. Didn't get the elephant, but I got this one.
Give him the writing credit.
Yeah.
You should. If we're ever right, hey, come on, give us an attaboy.
Yeah.
That BM is the clone of the mother of True.
Yes.
Lady True.
And she's giving her memories, which sound. Because she rightly points out, and I'm glad that this show acknowledges it, because a lot of shows are like, they made a clone of the person, and he's just like him. It's like, well, doesn't make any sense. They have to have the memories to be that person. And Angela's like, well, why? And she's like, well, they're literally hours away from starting the Millennium Clock. It's like, wouldn't you want your parents at your greatest achievement? It's like, you psych. And Angela correctly is like, you were insane. You were a crazy person.
But also, what about your dad?
Yes.
And this isn't how the transition works as far as I remember, but we do go to Ozymandias, and we find out it has been 1 year of a year-long trial with the game warden.
Yes.
And multiple clones that have basically become sentient individual beings, but also are tied to this weird, the hierarchy of how this world works.
Yeah. Which, by the way, I don't know if we mentioned the last one because he didn't show up, but it has been a year each time we've checked in with Ozymandias, and I think you and I had some confusion because there's a cake with candles.
Yeah.
But which marks his anniversary.
We just thought they were dumb clones.
Yeah,
robots.
because they tried to hand him the horseshoe, so I assumed it was like a bug in the Matrix. You know what I mean? But no, it's been a year each time. So now this trial's been going on a year, and there are some questions about like, how did these people learn how court systems work and all this stuff?
They know how to speak English, though.
And how did they do 365 days of this if he never spoken in his defense?
They just kept building a case.
Yeah.
And after all the evidence they talk about, it just kind of makes sense by how much they are aware of.
Yeah.
How are they aware? So he must have just been gabbing a little bit.
Why
would they know?
Him up the whole
Unless
time.
they just become smarter and smarter the longer that they're alive, and they just
Maybe they're
learn
like
things.
Janets. Each time you reset them, they're a little bit smarter.
Please watch The Good Place.
Yeah.
It's one of the best shows on television.
It's a lot more lighthearted than this show, that's for sure.
It does deal with heavy shit, though,
Yeah.
to be honest.
And so they asked for Ozymandias' defense, and pause real quick.
Because we got some pause on
Yeah. Well, no.
Bye, girl. She comes and says hi to me.
27. Yeah, so they ask him what his defense is, and it is a juicy fart.
Which I was like, but also when...
Especially because it sounds super fake.
Yeah, but also I like the game warden's response. And also just, if you can see it on his face, that it's like, yeah, none of this is real.
Yeah.
None of it's real to him.
Yeah.
This doesn't matter.
Also, the prosecutor like gives him a wink. Like he's definitely banging these clones, by the way, and I don't feel good about it.
He is,
because we don't know where their sense of self begins and ends. Like their ability to consent.
And shockingly, it just makes him a worse person.
Yeah.
And the game warden says like, "Oh, because these aren't your peers. They even know that they're less than Ozymandias, and are aware that he killed 3 million people.
Yeah,
and other costume adventurers.
Yeah,
He brings in a bunch of pigs, which Don't know where they came from.
Did you think it was going to be like clones of the original like Minutemen or something? Like somebody like
I thought, like or like the baby Watchmen from the Simpsons bit, V for Vacation. Such a good in joke for the Simpsons to do. That's what happens when you're on for over 30 years.
You get a couple winners.
You get the pig to call the verdict, and it doesn't matter because he's guilty. And I don't know what that means because the game warden can hurt him.
Yeah,
that almost stabbed him, punched him in the face at the very least, and has shot at him. The end though is him kind of looking up and being he's frowning and he's not feeling too good, and it cuts to
he actually has a tear in his eye, which I think maybe implies some. No matter how big your ego is, I have to imagine you have to feel some guilt for 3.
Oh, you think it's guilt
or something, man?
I thought it was just. That he knew he was in hell. Yeah. But this is the confirmation.
Oh yeah, because they're all around him like, you're guilty.
Yeah, I would be. I mean, that's what I took it as. But you're not wrong. He could finally feel guilt for what he's done. Maybe Keen put him there. Maybe Lady True put him there to make him feel this. But we do get the statue of that face that he's making. He's like, why? And that question came up earlier. Why is he old? Maybe he's like, it's like a Han Solo thing. And he's just in carbonite, or that's just like his skeleton in there. Maybe that's how they punish him, is by burning or melting gold all over his body.
It'd be interesting if he's been dead this whole prior to the show starting or whatever.
Well, I want my dad to be here. That's got.
Okay. I think we should save all our theories for the end. But Danny M in the chat says, "Is Lady True's dead Ozymandias or maybe the comedian because she's from Vietnam?" And we did see that the comedian did get around in Vietnam.
Yeah, what a fucking piece of shit.
Yeah, they're all kind of not great.
No.
Yeah.
So, but at the reveal with Lady True is that Dr. Manhattan is not on Mars. He's nowhere else. He's in Tulsa.
Hiding as a human.
Hiding as a human, and she keeps trying to tell Angela who it is because she knows.
And Angela doesn't bother to ask because it turns out Angela also knows.
Yes, and the reveal is that Cal, and also we learned this episode that there is a chunk of his memory that he just lost. And there's a line from Lady True. It's like, that's not how. Even amnesia, except for in soap operas where you lose your memory. By the way, reading true stories about amnesia is always super interesting. There's a Nicholas Sparks book about it that is based on a true story. Anyways, super interesting. They fall in love all over again. We find that Cal lost literally all of his noodle, and Angela and him are together now, and
it turns out there's a reason he's maybe a little bit robotic and like not big on keeping secrets, and also not big on entertaining any idea of like an afterlife or anything beyond that.
That's a great point. He's a little bit. You guys are being like, there's no way there's clones on this. Everything's a robot. It's like, well, he's kind of a robot. By the way, we know that the 7th Cavalry are going after Dr. Manhattan.
Yes. And when Angela goes home, they're outside her house, and she explains that she needs to get his memories out, and that she has a hammer. And I like that, even though at this point we'd already kind of figured out what was happening, there isn't, when he's like, hey, your brain's not been great the past couple days. It's like, oh, shit, man, he's right. This might not be a good thing.
You might be mixing up Cal and like when Will met Dr. Manhattan or something, but they pull out what looks like a magnetic ring with a hydrogen atom in it.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, was what was painted around the Cyclops' eye in the 7th Cavalry headquarters.
When Laurie was down there and Keen was giving his whole spiel.
Yeah, and then you see him light blue again, and it's like, hi, honey, we're fucked or whatever it is. And it's, we'll get into like the trailer we got for next week in a second, but the reveal is that Cal has been Dr. Manhattan this entire time.
Yes.
And I as we were watching it, you mentioned at the end of our stream that wasn't quite sitting well with you. The reveal.
Yeah, because it doesn't track with anything we know about Dr. Manhattan, really, that he would choose to do that. The next episode seems to fill in that. But it goes back to that, like, being audacious and maybe being risky. And it just seems like two things. One, can you make that square with what we know about Dr. Manhattan? Two, third episode in a row that's just revealing things, like that's a lot. Because when you boil down Watchmen, it all ties back to essentially why did the comedian get killed, which loops into Ozymandias' greater plan. And there's stuff revealed about characters, their backstories and stuff, like we got with Looking Glass, and kind of like we got with Will. But like plans within schemes with other scheming parties. It's like it's basically one scheme, and this might also end up being essentially one scheme. It's just at this moment a little bit concerned that it's like maybe we're getting to lost territory where it's like twists on top of twists, reveals on top of reveals,
You
and
can't
like
talk about lots. You only watch the finale. You didn't invest all the years and tears into that show.
But that's essentially that's essentially where my concern is. I do like because in watching last week's episode, I really liked the actor that got to play Will, but there was a sense of me like, why didn't you get Yahya Abdul-Mateen to play him?
Play this guy,
yeah. Play Will. Like
Slightly
why?
older Will.
Why is he? You're just having him be the husband? Turns out, no. There is a reason you had that actor playing the husband. You know what I mean? And I do hope it looks like in the teaser for next week's episode, it's the same actor that's been playing the game warden and all the clones that have been taken care of.
I mean, what we know...
Ozymandias, but I'm kind of hoping that in the present, after he's been reawoken, that Yahya gets to play Dr. Manhattan.
By the way, when we were waiting for the get back to the present, one thing we didn't mention is that PD does go to Looking Glass's apartment, and all the cavalry members are dead, and he's on the run.
I hope we see what happened.
Yeah,
I want to see that action scene, because it looks like next week we're going to get an insane action scene.
Yeah, very excited for it. So, and that's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
And so with that, looking back.
Also, I think the other concern is because Angela knew the whole time, and it's like, how she knew that she was married to a god the whole time?
Possibly. And that could be why they didn't have kids. And also, it could be, there's also a weird connection now that she and Lori have. That's like, that could mean something that Lori kind of talks to Cal and Cal has to lie to, and she's like, I don't like lying to Lori. Maybe there's a connection there. But also when Will says to Angela, when in the second episode, they're like, I'm Dr. Manhattan. It's like, no, you're not. And it's like, because she knows at that point. I can't give you an answer because we don't know the answer because they're going to tell us the story. I like it so far, but yes, I do agree that the fact that she knows is difficult.
And it's also, she's the granddaughter of the first superhero, and she's married to Dr. Manhattan.
Love that.
Whoa!
But possibly, you throw this out here.
Yeah.
Why she doesn't remember is that she chose not to, or maybe he allowed her to forget that.
And maybe all the memory junk
cleared it all up.
Yeah.
Cleared all the gunk out so that she could remember.
I mean, you know what? That does track because that's the whole point is that she has to get that refresh from the elephant.
Yeah.
At this point, the elephant's competing for Panda as my favorite aspect of the show.
My joke when we were watching was like, what if that was still Will? Like he just turned in, he's like, I got to be more. I can't be an old
god now.
And he turns into no one's turning into a red Dr. Manhattan.
Well, okay, so this gets into we're literally hours from the launch of the Millennium Clock. I did really like True's speech. I like True a lot. I every episode I'm like, True's just so funny to me. Like I just like that she just does not give a shit about anybody else's thing.
I like that she hasn't told Angela to this point because she's like, I've told you the same thing 9 times now. And like even before that, it's like, what is there to tell? We need you to get to a point where you understand what your grandfather's going through, and you did it the wrong way, but you got there. So now, which I like for evil Dr. Evil-esque ways of revealing plans. I did like that there's a logical reason why she waited this long.
So first time we see True, she's buying that farm, which is the spot that she built the Millennium Clock, which something crashed from space. We had a very conspicuous moment of very sweet because I rewatched last week's episode.
It's great,
and the scene where Will is being told about Superman made me very emotional. And the very conspicuous moment of being told about Superman there's a crashing on the farm. I'm thinking that Keen is not the only one trying to create another Dr. Manhattan, and that perhaps, because we didn't introduce the cloning for no reason. So I'm thinking that maybe a clone of Will graced with the abilities, and this could be, you said they didn't have kids, this could be the closest equivalent of the Jonathan Kent situation where it's Angela Abar and Dr. Manhattan's quote-unquote kid, but it's a clone of Will with Dr. Manhattan, superhuman abilities. And it makes me wonder, like, could this show end? So they introduce a good superhuman versus maybe evil Keen Dr. Manhattan. Could we get a full-on superhuman battle at the end of the show?
But you do know that's not what Watchmen's about. It's
not. But Watchmen's also not about Dr. Manhattan erasing his memory and settling down and having a happy life.
True. I don't dislike that theory.
I feel like all of that is very purposeful. What do you think crashed on the farm based on what we know now? It's the elephant.
Honestly, like it could be. You know what it could be? It could be the statue of Ozymandias.
That's a good
as a
point.
punishment that his like servant / whatever they are on this planet, because the message he wrote was "save me," and then there's a D.
Yeah.
So it could be Dr. Manhattan. That's a lot of words to have. He,
I mean, he did chuck a lot of bodies out there.
and he was out there for a while.
Save me, D. Who else could it be?
Yeah, Dreyberg. Sorry, I'm not saying the name. The
Drieberg. Yeah, Dan Drieberg.
Night Owls.
Yeah.
Not Owl Man. Night Owls.
Not
also,
Mirror Guy.
But
not
also,
Owl
how
Man.
could he get there? Dr. Manhattan's the only one who could get there to get to him. And True's been talking about. I'm getting a little off track here. What I think is that
Hard not to at this point.
I think Lady True's the one who built this habitat.
Yeah.
And that's how she ended up buying the company. And also it was like basically the trade-off is that you get to go on another planet and live in this utopia. And da-da-da. You think you made a utopia on Earth? Here's a utopia for you. And even for your ego, and you get to live here. And basically it was a ticking clock of eventually he's going to be tried in some way for what he's done.
Yeah.
And the punishment being that he's immortalized the way he wanted to be is like a gold statue. And that's maybe what crash landed on Earth. That could be it.
Maybe. I do think that maybe we're at the point where Dr. Manhattan created, this is his version of life, which I think might be an explanation of why he comes back. Like he creates the people that are caretaking for Osmanians. He's like, oh, clearly I'm missing pieces. It's like in The Good Place. What is the not Janet?
Derek.
It's like, my brain doesn't work.
Yeah.
And so he's trying to figure something, like he's clearly missing components that are what make life, which I think works and could be really compelling. I think the big mysteries are, for me, it's like what crashed the Earth and how does the cloning pertain to what is going on?
And also the question is that John Osterman, just being candid, was white, and now he's pretending to be a black man.
Yeah.
I don't know how to feel about it.
I
don't feel good, but also the writing staff is diverse and it's inclusive and there are a lot of voices. Maybe we're not supposed to feel good about it. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but it does feel it does, because he was white and then he was blue and now he's black. I don't know. It feels weird, but I have to voice that it does feel weird. Maybe I'm supposed to feel that way. That being said,
Cal was a person and has a connection.
I like that.
Like maybe because maybe
that's literally Get Out though.
Maybe although going back to Alan Moore stuff, maybe it's more of a Swamp Thing situation that John Osterman is not Dr. Manhattan. Dr. Manhattan is a thing that now thought he was John Osterman.
Oh,
and
cool,
so
cool,
maybe
cool.
like he can become Cal or he can become whatever, and it's like, which I think that would be very smart of them is don't just pull from this one thing, but look at it's something Fargo did. The Fargo TV show. It was a continuation of the Fargo movie, but they looked at all of the Coen Brothers movies to pull references from.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, to like as far as like stuff that they homaged and the way of storytelling. So maybe it's like, well, Alan Moore also wrote Swamp Thing, so I don't know.
Oh, and to be clear, I have zero problem with Yahya playing Dr. Manhattan or playing John. That's not the problem. That's not even a problem I have. I think I'm
a white guy saying like, I guess I'm going to be black now.
Yeah, that's the part I don't like, or I feel uncomfortable about because I want to see how they're going to tell the story. Because I don't see Lindelof and his team being like, "Yep, that's just what it is." And it's like, no, I think there's more to it. Because if it was Cal too, like a person. That means Angela just like, and then that John went into or became or whatever. That means now he is actually dead and John's there.
But I would imagine that if that's the case, Cal died, and Dr. Manhattan's like, I'm this dude now.
That feels a lot like Get Out.
Yeah. I don't know. What
exactly. I don't know either.
The next episode, it's like you got some tricky stuff. I will also say superficial stuff. We hear Dr. Manhattan talk a little bit in the trailer, and it was the one time where I was like, oh, maybe the movie did that better. Because he doesn't sound. He just sounds like a dude.
But also, if he can turn into a human, he can sound.
Oh, and also the way that scene is, not to jump ahead. And obviously, sometimes people like to. Usually, I like to skip the episode ahead.
True, but we are doing a spoiler discussion.
Yeah. So in that moment, the implication is he's trying to. Because he's wearing the mask, he's trying to pass himself off as one of these people, as a person. So maybe if you had alien voice that's like echoey, it's like, well, time out. Why are you doing that?
Also, there's maybe a theory, throw this out there. Yeah. Angela's seen him as that the entire time. And that visage, like that, this visage that he has is what everybody else sees. And that's why we are the audience watching him look like Hal. But maybe she sees him as Dr. Manhattan the whole time. Maybe that's happening.
Yeah,
he can apparently do. His powers are just kind of whatever they need to be in a moment. But I like the idea that possibly he went out to try to create life. Maybe he created this habitat. Maybe he didn't. That we'll get to that. Lady True's shown that she can do a lot of stuff, but that he comes back literally to the place where he caused maybe the biggest atrocity that he is directly responsible for. Not like New York, he chose not to do anything about, or that he couldn't do anything about, and chose not to, whatever. Read Watchmen.
Yeah.
But he comes back to Vietnam to kind of have to look at the aftermath of what happened and dealing with that in some way. Because he is an emotional creature, and he is taught through Laurie in the book that life, it has a meaning.
Yeah.
And it is not just a blank mathematical calculation of random probability that just ends eventually. No, it's like there's a reason for people being there, and it isn't just an occurrence. It is intentional, and he doesn't know why.
So, last question I have for you: Who do you think Ozymandias is True's dad?
Yeah, I'm gonna throw it out there that I think we did have a question from Danny M saying possibly the comedian, and you mentioned that earlier too, because he was doing lots of stuff in Vietnam with Dr. Manhattan too.
Yeah, and maybe Dr. Manhattan's involved. Like maybe he created her. I don't know. I don't think it'll be the comedian, because that feels like kind of against the ethos this show has been. And Damon Lindelof has like, I think we're still referring to Veidt as like the country gentleman or whatever. Mm-hmm. But it was very specific as like the three I allowed myself were Laurie, Ozymandias, and Dr. Manhattan. Mm-hmm. Any more than that, it feels more like a sequel. And he liked to call it a remix, which now watching the show, it's like, yeah, that's fair. That's a fair way to. I mean, it is a sequel. Mm-hmm. Let's not mince words. It's a sequel.
Yeah,
but a remix is also a fair description of it. I think
so too. I'm gonna go with Ozymandias because you with how Lady True came up,
she just
and
goes
also
up to a hammer that's at you, ding ding, and he like pops out like,
oh, I thought like skeletons were gonna pop out. A bunch of skeletons, I guess. I might be off base with the statue, but I'm getting vibes that he is going to be punished in some way, and it's not going to be Ozymandias doesn't get a happy ending in this story. He wasn't supposed to get a good one before. Yeah. All we've seen is him being slowly tortured over and over again in this like sci-fi prison that he's in, and he's not going to get saved.
No.
I don't know what it means for him. What I'm interested to see is Yahya Abdul-Mateen II play Dr. Manhattan. I'm excited to see that performance because I like when he puts on the mask. I like the little touches that they have. Even though the glow is cool in the comic, and I think the glow actually worked in the movie too. I like that he doesn't have it. It looks more just like a painting. By the way, the Corridor Crew over on YouTube, you guys watch our stuff. You probably watch them. They're crazy popular. They talk about Genie and Aladdin when the live action remake with Will Smith. Yeah. A way to make CG characters sometimes look more realistic, to have different skin colors, is to make it look more like it's painted on than it is their own skin color. And that's if you watch Aladdin, on his stomach, you can kind of see like his skin coming through the paint. Yeah. And I like that with Dr. Manhattan as well, where it looks like his skin has been painted. I think it's just a cool touch. Over on that channel, they're way smarter about saying it, so go watch their video about
check
it.
That out. They're doing Watchmen reviews.
But I think we're basically at the end here.
Yeah, what would you rate this episode?
I think last episode was basically perfect. So I'd give this like an 8.7. It's like a B plus. Basically an A. It's just like the last episode was like an A plus for me, and this feels like more like an A B plus area.
I would
A minus B plus.
I was gonna say an 8. Just because of again, just kind of like an overload of exposition. But then I remember the elephant and the trap door and all the like, just really, the elephant, man. I give it an 8.5. I give it an 8.5, and I hope this is the first time where I was like, oh, maybe they can't stick the landing, but I feel like they can.
Mm-hmm, I think so too,
and I'm excited to find out one way or the other,
because I think they're working too hard to let it become like a Lost or something. I
would not be surprised if we get Game of Thrones final episode reaction to the finale, no matter what it is. Just because, again, we didn't get 8 seasons of it, but a lot of buildup of theories. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I think they're going to be able to stick the landing.
Yeah.
People might have divisive feelings about it, but that's okay. But I think they're going to stick it overall.
And I do, just last thing I want to throw out, Danny M said in the chat, maybe he said, save my daughter. And Veidt on the moon. That's what the D means. That would be interesting.
Save Me Daughter.
Oh, Save Me Daughter. Yeah. Save Me Daughter.
That's slow. That's a lot longer.
Yeah.
That also confirms one theory. That's a good one. There, we found the theory for the video. That works. That counts. Let us know what you thought of this episode in the comments down below, and we will be doing more coverage right here at youtube.com/onlystupidanswers. So subscribe, like this video, check out patreon.com/onlystupidanswers to watch along with us and get these reviews early. We're doing them live right now and talking to people, so we don't want you guys to miss out. Please join it, and also thank you to everyone who already supports us. You guys are the best. Happy holidays. I'm at Sam Basher on Twitter.
I'm at TJ Talks Trash.
At Only Stupid Answers.
You got the bells from Stupid.
Bing, bing, boom. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye-bye.
Danny M, Efren, Vanny, Caitlin, everybody who joined today, we appreciate you guys, and we will see you next time.
Bye-bye. Bye.